Today we're going to rewind back to 2014, a time where there was no pandemic, no killer virus, no staying in the house 24/7, not seeing a single soul for entire weeks and months, and remembering the great movies that 2014 offered us. The Grand Budapest Hotel, Interstellar, Birdman, Gone Girl, Guardians of the Galaxy, Nightcrawler, and so many other good movies. Remember that? Remember the time where you sat down and watched the Grand Budapest Hotel and you thought to yourself, wow, what is it about Wes Anderson movies that I can immediately know it's a Wes Anderson movie? Well, that's not what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about Whiplash. This video contains a lot of spoilers, and you had like 7 years to watch the movie, so if you haven't, please don't waste another 7 years, just go watch it. Whiplash is the classic story of two people who want the same thing, but they keep clashing because of the opposite ways they want to get there. The super simple example for this is in superhero movies. Both the protagonist and the antagonist want world peace, but the antagonist wants to achieve that by wiping out half of the world, and the protagonist wants peace by clearing the world of the so-called bad guys. Sound familiar? So the goal is one, but the course of action is different. We see the same method of writing used in Whiplash. Just swap out the superhero with an ambitious student and the antagonist with a professor with severe anger management issues. On one side, we have Andrew, who wants to be a great drummer, or one of the greats, as he says. We see him putting in the time and the effort from the very first scene. On the other hand, we have Fletcher, who's looking for his Charlie Parker, someone in between his students to become a legend, and he believes that Andrew can be just that for him. But in Fletcher's own words, he was there to push people beyond what's expected of them. And in order to achieve that, he had some seriously crazy methods, like this.
I don't know.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
No.
Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference!
And this.
Pick it up! Faster!
One of my favorite parts about this movie is the question it leaves you with. How far can you push someone? Is there a limit? For Fletcher, there really aren't any red lines. He humiliates his students repeatedly, there's a constant mental pressure, and we can see it in every scene with Fletcher and his students. And if mental torture isn't enough, he's also physically abusive, throwing a chair at Andrew's head or slapping him over and over. But other than being abusive, Fletcher is a master manipulator. We can see how manipulating he really is in 2 scenes. The first is in the scene where he reassures Andrew that he's here for a reason and he asks him about his family and is really friendly with him. Even though this might seem well-intended at the beginning, we see that he only wanted that information to embarrass him with it later on. The second scene is in the restaurant after he's been fired from Schaefer, and he acts as if he doesn't know Andrew was the person who talked against him. That leads us to the final scene, which in my opinion is one of the greatest endings to a film I've ever seen. But we'll get to that later. Going back to Fletcher's methods and his mindset, he believes that if he pushes his students enough, they will achieve greatness. Obviously not all of them, but Fletcher is looking for that one person who, despite all of that mental and sometimes physical abuse, would come out even stronger. So when he thought that person was Andrew, he did everything in his power to make his life a living hell. But oddly enough, it was all to make Andrew great. We can say that it worked in Andrew's case, but what's really important in the movie is that it reminds us that this method doesn't work with everyone, by showing us one of Fletcher's previous students, Sean Casey, who commits suicide because of the extreme amount of pressure and anxiety he felt. So we come all the way back to the first and most important question. What are the limits? How far is too far?
Marsalis made him third trumpet at Lincoln Center. A year later, he was first. And that's who you're listening to now. His name was Sean Casey. I found out this morning that Sean died yesterday.
The great thing about Whiplash is that it's so focused. Not a second of the movie is wasted on irrelevant scenes or unnecessary subplots. Each and every shot of the movie shows us how intense the characters and how high the stakes are. And the one character who isn't as intense as the rest gets kicked out quite brutally, just because she doesn't know what she wants to do. So there's a constant rise of pressure, which means you better grab whatever snacks you want before the movie starts, because when it does, you won't be able to budge. Making our way to the last scene, it is just spectacular. And here's why. Because there's a constant change of dynamics and feelings. It starts off with Fletcher telling everyone in the band that, quote, the people out there won't forget anything. So he uses the element of fear to motivate them, or that's what you think at the beginning, because just before the band starts, he goes up to Andrew and tells him that he knew all along that he had testified against him. And then we can see the real fear sink into Andrew's face when he realizes his sheets don't match the others. And then we see Andrew getting embarrassed on the stage and leaving. We think that's the end of it, but then he comes back, picks up his sticks and starts playing Caravan, and just out of the blue, and starts cueing the other musicians in. At this moment, the power is entirely in Andrew's hands, whereas in the previous scenes, Fletcher was the one in control. Slowly, as the scene develops, we can see Fletcher's anger turn into satisfaction as a smile forms on his face, and we eventually see him getting really excited and just, going crazy. But when he thinks the performance is over and is super happy with Andrew's performance, Andrew continues with an extended solo, showing he's still in charge. And we see the lights slowly go out as Fletcher's expressions change from like, wow, to what the hell is he doing? And the lights turn back on, this time showing us Andrew's face. And we see that he's sort of become one with his drums, and there's really no stopping him. And Fletcher sees that too. Now, here's where the dynamic changes again. We see Fletcher fixing the cymbal on Andrew's drums, admiring him, and he becomes his instructor again, and Andrew goes nuts on the drums. Then there's an amazing close-up of Andrew and Fletcher's eyes, and a moment of silence, and a smile traded between the two before the whole band joins in, and boom. I mean, this scene takes you on a roller coaster of emotions. Fletcher goes from wanting revenge to anger to an admirer to a mentor to confused to proud to having finally found his Charlie Parker. It's perfection. Finally, the both characters have achieved what they've wanted all along since the beginning of the movie. And this is where it's different from the superhero storyline that I was talking about earlier, because in superhero movies, the antagonist and protagonist go against each other, and only one of them comes out having won. It's usually the superhero. But in Whiplash's last scene, we see that both our characters are now joined to achieve their goals, and they both come out the other side a winner. Thank you for watching. Let's rewind back to 2021 and remember how much life sucks. I hope everyone's doing good, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Say it so the whole band can hear you.
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.